never-ending dream, a dream of you.
I'm waiting for the night, drifting away on the waves of my Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another YouTube stream. How's everybody doing, huh? We're all doing great. We're all doing great. A lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. But the first thing I want to talk about and mention is that fuck every single fucking red-lib shill for the Starbucks Barista Union, which is coming out apparently, and we're going to be covering this, in support of the current color revolution in China. But if you can believe it, rubbing that in people's faces is not actually going to be the main thrust of today's stream. The main thrust of today's stream actually is going to be pointing out the idiocy of the conservative movement. Thank you so much, Crack Dealer. I see you donated 20. I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking about the incompetency of the so-called conservative movement and its overwhelming and apparently unanimous support for the obvious globalist color revolution protests now occurring in China. And actually, we have some special treats lined up for you today, if you can believe it. It's not often that we get a showrunner on the stream. But yes, Ezra, who is from China, and most importantly speaks Chinese, and therefore is up to date in terms of all the discourse going on in Chinese social media and the background of the whole event of this so-called huge wave of protests going on in China. Ezra is going to be coming onto the stream to discuss the actual context and significance of these protests. Before he does that, though, I want to share with you my thoughts. Oh my god, Arcane. Holy fuck with the 50. Thank you so much, brother. I do want to talk about the conservative response to this. So first of all, the first thing we're going to have to point out, and the first thing I'm going to be showing you, is not the conservative response, but the significance of the Starbucks Union in this regard. So I'll just pull it up right here. God, this is just horrific. I'm going to be showing you some things, okay? I'm going to just, right off the bat, before we get into the conservative responses to the China protests, let me offer you some background and some context. So in China, the Chinese government has been pursuing a policy called Zero COVID. As of recent, China is where the COVID virus was first identified. I say first identified rather than originated because we don't know, right? But it was first identified within China, and the Chinese government's response was to treat this virus very mysteriously, we don't know a lot, as a weapon. Specifically to target Chinese people. That's just how they saw it. By nature, right? I'm not saying any conspiracy theories. But the Chinese government was not playing around. For whatever reason, they took this virus very seriously, and they did not want any of this in their society. They wanted to completely eliminate the virus at all costs. And as to why that is, I think you just have to think about China itself and China's history. China is used to foreign elements and foreign intruders coming into China and basically destroying the society from opium. Thank you so much, Latvian Khan. From opium to other kinds of, the West in general, when China was closed off to the world under the Qing dynasty. And they see the COVID virus in the same exact way. They see it as a foreign element invading their country, and they're using their sovereignty in order to weed it out, to close off their society from this virus that's spreading across the whole entire world and, go back to normal somehow. Well, to be fair, the virus has not been unanimously popular in Chinese society, to say the least, especially now after, maybe, I don't know exactly how long. Holy fuck, red ambiance. Thank you so much, man.
The West will not see any victory in China.
Well, it certainly will not, brother. Not if Xi will have anything to stand for it. So, to say the least, it's not that popular in China, but the problem with these idiot conservatives, and this is not a stream for idiots. This is not a place for fucking morons, okay? I'm not going to sit here and tell you things that these retards on Twitter and on YouTube are telling you just to feed whatever narrative you want. where they're trying to compare the lockdowns that exist in America or in Canada or in Europe with the ones that are going on in China, as if there's some kind of comparison. Actually, there's a big difference between the lockdowns in both countries. In China, lockdowns are actually about protecting China from a foreign threat. In the United States and in Canada, the lockdowns are actually about controlling people. Now, before you say that China is exercising these lockdowns because they're trying to control the Chinese people, what more power does the Chinese government get that it didn't have before? They already had power. Mass surveillance was already a fucking thing. They don't need COVID lockdowns to control their people and control their population. They already have the power that they do. They didn't gain any more power than they had already. Chinese businesses and Chinese corporations were never powerful enough to even share anything with the government. The Chinese state has always been the supreme power of China. By the way, that's not just because of communism. That was even true since the very beginning of China's existence as a civilization. Under the Qing dynasty, the supreme power in China was the state. It was the emperor. Well, today it's the Communist Party, and it's increasingly in the person of Xi Jinping, who is a hero of the Chinese people and a hero of Chinese sovereignty. So for those of you who look at China's lockdowns and say, oh my God, this is what they're doing to us in the West, you've got it completely backwards. Over there, they're protecting themselves from globalism, and they're protecting themselves from the intrigues of globalists and the agenda of globalists, which include population reduction, if you didn't know that. While here, we institute lockdown policies in order to refashion society into a dictatorship of the World Economic Forum and the globalists to erode our national sovereignty. So here's the difference. I'm going to explain it to you. In China, the zero COVID policy in China is about defending Chinese sovereignty against globalists. In America, lockdowns, as well as in Canada, are about destroying American sovereignty to make way for the unprecedented power of the globalist agenda over the people. So that is a fundamental difference you cannot lose and you cannot miss. There's no comparison. People are looking at clips and bullshit out of context to demonize China and strawman it into the epitome of, it is such a psyop because you're just seeing this alignment of vague populist sentiment and the very clearly engineered by the State Department, the CIA, and the Department of Defense anti-China agenda that's being pushed on Twitter and the whole social media and the whole world at large and media. You think you're skeptical of the agenda. You're not skeptical of the agenda if you're jumping on board thinking you're an original anti-establishment fucking person while demonizing and attacking China and praising these obvious color revolution protesters who have the full backing of the forces of globalism and the deep state. You cannot seriously sit here like Benny Johnson, okay, and I don't know who that is in particular, I just saw them on Twitter, or Jack Posobiec, sit here and pretend you're a freedom fighter and you're an anti-establishment figure and just peddle the exact narrative that is being astroturfed about China en masse, okay? It is a joke. You're not a real conservative. You're not a fighter against the deep state. You're not fighting the globalists and their agenda. I mean, in one instance, you sit here and you complain that some stuff is being pushed on your children in schools and that globalism has gone too far. And then you look at a country like China and you support the same exact forces that are trying to introduce that to Chinese children? Really? You look at these libshits in China protesting. These are globalists. This is the Chinese Antifa. This is the Chinese pink pussy hats. These are the Chinese version of Democrat liberals. Okay, you're looking at these people and you say, I support them. Why should China open its society to foreign threats and foreign intruders and invaders who have done nothing but bring ruin and calamity to Chinese civilization across history? Why should they do that? You're watching CNN, you're watching the establishment media, and you're running with this narrative that is very clearly being astroturfed and pushed, and you think you're some kind of fucking dissident and freedom fighter. No, you're not. Thank you, Johnny.
This is why right-wingers always fail. They are usually good at identifying problems in society.
It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. People want to ask me, Haz, why are you not a right-winger? Can you name me some right-wingers who are looking past the bullshit on this new fucking agenda against China? I don't really see any, right? Bunch of duped idiots. Can't even tell their head from their own fucking ass. Pushing whatever convenient narrative is available against China. Having no idea what agenda they're playing into. I mean, and I'm saying this, I'm so strongly defending China right now because it is the key to everything.
This reminds
Thank you,
me of the
Tanxus.
time when the right supported the HK protesters, even though the protesters operated like
Yeah,
Antifa.
you're going to support, you're going to be against color revolutions in America, but you're going to support them abroad. It makes no sense at all. I would like to understand this, right? I'd like to understand this. Because nobody's made me understand it, so I would just like to understand this. If you... Yeah, they do the same with Iran as well. It's a complete op, obviously. I actually forgot what I was going to say very quickly. Thank you so much, Chris Morlock. Appreciate you.
Aren't the same exact liberals decrying Canadian truckers and anti-lockdown mega protests the same people promoting Shanghai Barista protests against lockdowns?
Yes, precisely, Chris Morlock. You've got it correctly. So the same people here in America that are against the MAGA movement and are against the Canadian truckers, that's the same type of social forces that are now in China trying to overthrow the Chinese government. No, I remember what I was going to say. The reason I'm coming out so strongly against this new astroturfed campaign against China is because China is the key to understanding everything about who our ruling class is. Now, why am I saying that? Because although our ruling class seems to be divided between the State Department, CIA, versus the Department of Defense in a lot of regards, Peter Thiel versus the Democrats, although there seems to be a lack of unanimity there, the truth is that all of it is about China. They're all just debating about how best do we tackle and destroy China, which is the premier threat to the unipolar American world system to an even greater degree than Russia. China is more of a threat to this globalist order that we live in than Russia is. And that is why China is unanimously, across both the so-called left and the so-called right, denounced, condemned, and defamed. Because the exact singular interest is that of the deep state and the ruling class, which is to destroy the Communist Party of China. Now, do they want to destroy their business interests in China? No. But what they want to do is they want to team up with some of these rich people in China, some of these rogue businessmen in China. They want to team up with them, and they want to destroy the Communist Party, and that will open and unlock China to them, and they'll have the ability to enact full control on China and full population reduction, and they're going to make China a shithole. They're going to get rich off of it, and the Chinese people are going to suffer. That's their plan. Just like what they're doing to America, and just like what they're doing to other countries in Europe and the West. Okay? It's the same damn thing. They want to bring China to heel. Imagine if Donald Trump lived up to his promises. Imagine if Donald Trump did put America first and represented American sovereignty. Well, guess what? That's what the Communist Party is in China. They put China first, and they do represent China's sovereignty against globalism. And that's why they're after China. And all of you fucking fake conservative idiots are playing right into it and thereby shooting yourself in the foot and opening the door to globalism here at home. Because let me tell you, if they take down China and the Communist Party, if they gain control of China and they can use China's resources at will and at their whim, what do you think that will do for the prospects of an uprising against globalism on a global level? Huh? How much harder do you think that's going to make it?
Fuentes
Thank you,
surprisingly
Farrakhan.
supports China, Iran, and Russia as anti-hegemonic forces against the American government.
Thank you so much, Farrakhan. And a lot of people point out the level of friendliness that exists between infrared and the America First movement. They're saying, why is there no war between you guys? Why are you guys like, why don't you hate each other? Well, let's begin with, why do I think those guys are more real from what I've seen? The reason I think America First is more real than other conservatives is because they are very clearly not aligned with the Straussians, with Steve Bannon, with all of these other entrenched interests in the Republican Party. Thank you so much, Johnny.
China. We need the Stalinist golden center.
Absolutely. The one thing I respect about the America First people, like, there is one thing I will credit them with. I disagree with them about a lot of shit, but I can recognize that they're independent. They're not being, as far as I know, right? I cannot detect that they're being controlled by anything on the outside. All of their views appear to be their own, which means I can disagree with them, but I'm disagreeing with them on the basis of like two independent forces disagreeing with each other, not, oh, you're a shill for this faction, you're getting Peter Thiel's money. Like, it's not Peter Thiel, it's not the neocons, it's not Steve Bannon. It's very clearly a grassroots movement as far as what I could see. That's just as far as I can see. They're the only people on the right, which right, left, what does that mean right now? Right, all these things are being thrown in the air right now. But they're the only people on that side of the aisle who see past this bullshit, right? I look at the Jack Posobiec guy. I look at all these other so-called conservatives all over the fucking internet, Twitter, whatever. I look at all these people and I see them jumping on board. Thank you so much, Mayor.
This is truly an interesting timeline.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's more like a friendly, distance we have with each other. But that's the reason for it, right? I don't see anybody who can very clearly see that the globalist deep state can be precisely defined in terms of imperialism. I'm not talking about imperialism as an abstract principle, but as a concrete world system that exists today. Of course China's their enemy. Of course Iran is their enemy. Of course Russia is their enemy. Those are the people that stand in the way of their agenda going global, truly global, right? Those forces represent the sovereignty of sovereign peoples. Of course the Taliban is based. Of course North Korea is based. Of course China is based. Of course Russia is based. Of course Venezuela is based. You want to know why they're fucking based? Not because you have to agree with all of their ideologies and all the things that they believe and all of their specific policies, but because they are independent from the people in power. They're not controlled by the people who control us. That means you can be diplomatic with them. You can work with them from scratch. You can just see that they represent the interests of their people. You may not agree with those interests on a personal level. You don't have to. But when you're talking to the Chinese government, you're not talking to the globalists. When you're talking to the Iranian government, you're not talking to the globalists. You are talking to people who are truly independent from our ruling class. And that is what makes them fucking based by nature. Okay? It is so I mean, it's not necessarily surprising, but you can tell someone is a cuck-servative. I know some people are just uninformed about this, and I don't want to write them off or punish them for being uninformed or uneducated. But it is serious cuck behavior to jump on the bandwagon of promoting the color revolution against China in the name of projecting the domestic political situation. Like, oh, in China, that's what Biden represents. No, I'm sorry, Biden. I can't believe. I'm trying to think right now, right? I've heard the number one narrative be on Twitter and elsewhere that Biden is not supporting the protesters yet. Thank you so much,
People
Nox.
like Jack Posobiec promote anti-China propaganda as opposition. People like Ben Norton and Danny Haifong promote anti-China propaganda as support.
Precisely. Thank you so much, Nox.
Jackson Hinkle called zero COVID wrong and terrifying. Will you debate me on it? Also thoughts on Foxconn workers fighting for wages and conditions.
Well, zero COVID applied to America would be wrong and terrifying, but China's a different country. And what are my thoughts on Foxconn worker? Well, I'm going to bring Ezra on and he's going to talk about that. He's going to be talking about that because a lot of this stuff is I'm not saying there's no sentiment against the prevailing policy in China. I'm just saying it's being exploited to make way for the globalist Soros plot. And that's what a lot of people are missing here. It's being exploited to do something completely different that has nothing to do with what the Chinese people actually want. If they want a change in policy, it's a change in policy. It doesn't mean they want to surrender their own sovereignty as a people to globalism. And that is exactly what the overthrow of the Communist Party would entail. But in any case, it is such a cuck-servative thing to just... They're saying Biden is too soft on China because he's not supporting the protesters. I'll tell you why Biden is not supporting the protesters, you goddamn sucker. Because Biden knows these protesters are a drop in the fucking pond. They're nothing. They're peanuts. The largest gathering of protesters was 1,000 people. Biden is not going to support those protesters because if he did, he would be rightfully engaging in a severe escalation with China. The Chinese would see that almost like an act of war. There's like a handful of protesters in China and America's just supporting them now. Well, if it gets to Hong Kong levels, yes, the U.S. state will support it. We have no doubt about that. But if the U.S. supports them now, what's going to happen is that they're going to be squashed in their cradle very quickly and easily. They're going to be rightfully identified within China as a plot by the globalists, by the American ruling class. That's why it's not immediately getting support. And who knows, maybe he will come out and support them in the coming days if they don't go away, right? Very quickly before we bring Ezra on, I've been delaying this way too long. But very quickly, I want to just show this to you because I think I've been vindicated on a certain point, okay? Remember the barista discourse and how I said baristas are not revolutionaries? Well, here's what baristas are doing. Allegedly, the Starbucks union is giving advice to the Chinese protesters on how to actually effectively protest and, carry out this color revolution against China. That is allegedly what's going on. Starbucks protesters have started. Look at that. Agent provocateurs teaching them how to make human walls. Now, I am not an expert on ethnography. But if I had to guess on a test I was taking cold, I would guess that these are not Chinese people. I would guess that these are American liberals tied to the Democratic Party, tied to NGOs. These are American activist liberals, the same ones that try to fight American sovereignty every single day. I would guess these are not Chinese people here. These are American liberals trying to provoke their fellow Chinese cosmopolitan liberal compatriots into doing the same wrecker fuck shit that they do here in America. Now, I want to give you some... Ezra's going to explain this more to you, but the protesters in Shanghai and across China, there's no difference between them and the protesters in America who protested Roe v. Wade. It's the same type of person. Affluent, upper middle class, college educated, urban, Starbucks loving, barista. You know, they've got their hats and mittens on. Same exact type of fucking person. These are not ordinary people. These are not regular people. These are shit libs. These are shit libs in China. Globalist shit libs who want to import transgender grooming of children into China. After all, it was Shanghai that is pioneering the experimentation with, you know, transgender clinics for youth. There's a reason that was in Shanghai, because Shanghai is the most liberal fucking city in China. And these same liberals in Shanghai that are promoting transgender youth agendas in China, those are the same ones that are calling for the overthrow of the Communist Party. It's the exact same type of people. But you won't hear that from anyone in America, neither on the left or the right. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to show you. Okay. Liberal, this is in China. This is the barista class in China protesting. Why don't you give it a listen? They're singing the International. Now, something tells me this is not the working class. Something tells me. I mean, we could do a fashion analysis, but something tells me these are not the Chinese proletariat, right? They're singing the International, which is supposed to be the anthem of the proletariat. Well, something tells me that these types, you know, hipster kind of hip. I mean, this doesn't really look like the working class to me. But what do I know, right? I feel like this looks more like some baristas and tech workers. You know, the Twitter employees who work in those lavish conditions. I think that's what this is right here. I don't think we're looking at the working class in any capacity. I think we're looking at an affluent upper middle class that this is the Western left in China. A lot of people don't get this. You want to know what the Western left looks like in China? This is what it looks like. And they're calling for the overthrow of the Communist Party. You hear that, you stupid, red lib, worthless pieces of shit? The Chinese government doesn't represent you leftists in the West. This is what represents Western leftists in China. Thank you so much, Chris.
Malformous phenotype detected.
These are the people who did Chaz. This is them. This is the Chinese version of Chaz. Here they are. But the retard, I'm not scared of calling them that. Retard cuck-servatives are supporting this. They're saying Biden should do more to support this. They created it, you dumb fuck. This is literally already the creation of George Soros. They already did this, fomenting this unrest, supporting the libshits of China. That's what they've already done. And you're sitting here saying it's not enough. They need to be doing more. Can you square that? How does that make sense? It's not enough. They need to be doing more than what they're doing now. What? They need to be doing more? That they're already on overdrive. The CIA is already on overdrive, creating all of this color revolution bullshit. And you're telling me it's conservatives who are at the vanguard of claiming that Biden needs to do more? You're a cuck, dude. It's almost like, because they're using our money to do this, our taxpayer money, the CIA uses it to support these libshits in China, right? So it's almost like your wife is already getting fucked by another man, okay? Your wife is already getting fucked by another man, and Jack Posobiec he barges in the room and he goes, fuck her harder! You're not fucking her hard enough, you asshole! You're fucking her too softly! It's not hard enough! And he's wagging his finger at this man who's fucking his wife and saying he needs to put more into it. Yeah, we're already giving our tax money to the CIA and the State Department to spread this bullshit to China. But according to Jack Posobiec and the conservatives, we need to give them more. We need to do more. Yeah, let's get more involved. What the fuck? Your wife is already getting fucked, and you, the conservatives, are the cheerleaders for fuck her harder. Fuck her harder. You're not doing it enough. Fuck her harder. No, not only fuck her harder. Go ahead and bring your buddy. Fuck her in both holes. Go ahead, bring your buddy. You're being too soft on her. And they think that this is like a manly anti-establishment position. Say you're a cuck. You're not only a cuck. You're such a righteous cuck that you're basing your politics on, you're mad that you're not being cucked enough. You want to be cucked even more than you are. You want to be cucked even more than you are. That's what's going on. Okay? You want to know what it means to not be a fucking cuck? It means... Thank you so much, Tanksis.
The right claims to preserve masculinity but hate China. Even though China made laws to preserve masculinity in China and they support these people.
You want to know what it means to be against being a cuck? It means to say, you know what? We should be like China. They have a fucking Great Wall. Let's have our own Great Wall. Let's have our own fucking Great Wall. We want the globalists out. We want the foreign influence out. Get it out. Focus on America. That's what China does for China. We should do it for America. China says, kick out the globalists. Focus on China. That's what we need to do. Do we have to do lockdowns and shit? No. We have a different culture. That's fine. But the fundamental principle remains. Instead of being a fucking cuck, you should be outraged that our government is already doing so much to fuck with China. Why are we fucking with China? Huh? We have no business in China. Stop fucking with China and focus on our problems here at home. Beginning with, what about the fucking homeless problem in our fucking cities? Yeah, China has zero lockdown in its cities, and we have like the opposite of that, which is what? We have infinite crackhead. We have infinite diarrhea buckets that homeless people throw on fucking pedestrians.
China will not
Thank you,
fall
Hot
to the
Take
forces
Co-op.
of Sodom and Gomorrah. The Communist Party won't allow it. Worker patriots are in control.
Precisely. But this is what people need to understand, all right? Because you want to understand the difference, and here it is. Thank you so much, Maximilian. China may have zero lockdown in its major cities, but in America's major cities, we have infinite diarrhea buckets that homeless people throw on pedestrians. No one talks about it. Nobody talks about our subways. Why don't you go on the public transit in New York? There's a fucking crackhead masturbating and looking at you right in the eyes. I think zero COVID is better than... They don't have that in China. Can we talk about that? Not only can you catch the COVID virus in America, okay, you can catch a homeless man's sperm just sitting on the bus. Just sitting on the subway in New York. You have to wear a giant mask with all this protective gear, not because of COVID, but because there's probably just some random crackhead that's going to come take a shit on you while you're sitting down. And you need to protect yourself from it. Okay? So before we go and start interfering in China, why don't we just take care of our own problems and sit down and talk about why do we have our own... We have a lot of problems here in America, I promise. Thank you to Fund the Oligarchy. Appreciate you so much. All right, guys. I dragged this on too long. I'm going to bring on Ezra. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Ezra. Hold on. I'm also going to show you... Oh, we have a lot of stuff. We have a lot more stuff. I'm going to bring Ezra on while I'm showing this to you. I'm just going to bring him on right now. All right, so just really quickly, look at this. This is pretty crazy, okay? In a rare surge of protests in China, demonstrators call for the ruling Communist Party. Thank you so much,
San
Ignacio.
Francisco is getting drones to blast pedestrians low.
Yeah. And its leader Xi to step down amidst anger at least the deaths of 10 people in an apartment fire. Ezra's going to talk about that in a second. Look at this. Organized and integrated by the likes of New York Times, BBC, CNN, providing instructions and coaching how to protest. But they can't even write in proper Chinese. So look at this. They are using Google Translate to try and instigate Chinese people to organize them to protest. These protests are not very large, by the way. Yeah. They aren't smart, and they're making the same stupid mistakes in their color revolution attempts.
Based.
Thank you so much, Penn. They're using sloppy fucking language, too, throughout the whole thing, okay? Look at this. Look at this nonsense, okay? BBC journalist was arrested last night and later released. This is the BBC. You're a big fan of the BBC journalists? Ladies and gentlemen, look at him. Now, something tells me this is not... I mean, imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine if in the American 2020 protests that devastated our country and our cities, a Chinese man who's a journalist of Chinese state media got arrested. And what? This is something acceptable and normal. This is a look at this guy. This is not a Chinese person. This is not someone who's from China. This is a British fucking journalist going to China to fuck with them. Just like they did during the Opium Wars, where they tried to peddle their dope onto the Chinese people. And now they're trying to peddle something else. So, and then, okay, one more thing. Look at this. This is the statement from Ed Lawrence from the BBC. And I'll read it in the proper accent. Because, listen, this is not... Again, this is the British from that fucking island in Europe. All the way from that fucking little island in Europe. They went all the way to China to try and fuck with them. Again, thank you, Ignacio. Listen, the Opium Wars, they forced dope. They colonized China. And they're still fucking there. Thank you, Penn.
BBC is hated in China, lol.
Yeah, and they're still fucking there. Look at this. The BBC is extremely concerned about the treatment of our journalist, Ed Lawrence, who was arrested and handcuffed during the protests in Shanghai. It is very worrying that one of our journalists was attacked in this way while he's carrying out his duties. We have no official explanation or apology from the authorities. You know what? Imagine if the Red MAGA movement of America arrested liar journalists in the same way. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? I think that's admirable, actually.
Based.
But in any case, guys, without any further ado, Ezra, it's been a long time since he's been on the show
Yeah, it's been a
live.
while.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Same as always.
I like
So
the tiger.
yeah. So before anything, you actually understand Chinese and you're very intimately familiar with China. You know, being Chinese yourself. The fire in Xinjiang is what is reportedly what spurred these protests. So if you can, just give some background information on this fire and significance within China.
So the city that people are focusing on, Urumqi, that's one of the major cities in Xinjiang. That city is being under lockdown for a long time, and there's obviously nobody likes lockdown, and there's being criticism against the efforts of the local officials. There's all kinds of saying, but what happened is there's been a fire in an apartment. 10 people died. It's a very tragic thing. Also, incidentally, everyone died in the city apartment are ethnic Uyghurs, which is kind of funny narrative-wise for a lot of people. But the actual fire itself has nothing to do with COVID. There's been people there trying to do who've done their own research, find out that despite rumors and claims that the doors are locked, that people cannot get out, and the gated community has been barricaded. The actual areas are not under high alert, and what's actually happened is that because the housing is very old, the roads are very narrow. It's been crowded with like other cars parking around, like it is in many developing countries. So like the fire trucks can't get in, and the sad reality is there has been barriers, but those barriers were erected in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks in Xinjiang, like almost about 8 years ago, I think. So it has nothing to do with COVID itself. But it's very easy for people and for certain actors to tie it with the COVID policies, which people do have lots of criticism about, and it's fine. Like there's been like some small scale demonstration everywhere for the past few years. But what's make this special is that just like the day before yesterday. A group of activists, mostly middle class people, some of them students, a couple of them likely foreign actors, gathered on the Urumqi Road in Shanghai, which is the same. The road has the same name with the city. And you can do this. This is the one funny thing about Shanghai. It's like they don't have their own road name. Like a bunch of their road names, like names of other places in China. So like it's like in New York City of China. In many ways, it's not as globalist, but it's comparable. And then you have a lot of these people protesting, calling for they went beyond the usual demand. They call for they say down with the CCP. They call for down with Xi. They call for they made a bunch of liberal slogans. Like calling for freedom, etc., etc. And the day after that day, there's been a bunch of protests throughout this country. Most of them aren't very large. The largest that I've seen number in the thousands at most. Most of them are much smaller. That have like a dozen people, but they're all concentrated in the major metropolitan centers or in college campuses. Yeah, and and you can tell it's not really an organic protest in many ways. There's like very clear signs of a coordination. Aside the fact that it's a nationwide protest, like people is just holding a blank sheet of paper. They're trying to make this into a symbol, of the movements. It's like the classic color revolution tactics.
It's being called the white paper movement, from what I've been hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with Hong Kong that they call it the umbrella movements, where they use umbrella. And what's the OG color revolution in Ukraine? Was
The
it
orange, right?
Yeah, the orange revolution. Were they orange band or something? Was that what they did?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but you just like see this very clear and sometimes awkward attempts at trying to make it a thing, like make it a symbol to catch on, not just domestically but internationally. Like it's almost as if they really wanted like the globalist media to say, "Oh, there's this new white paper movement that you can make a very easy hashtag about."
So
You know,
it's curious because a lot of people are not aware that in terms of the people protesting, these are not like the Canadian truckers, or these are not like your typical protesters fighting against the mandates and lockdowns in the United States. What would you describe as the nature of the average protester, and what links they have internationally in China right now?
they're basically they're basically just like the left toys, the PMC, the middle class, the petit bourgeois, whatever you want to call it, but in Chinese context. Again, it's significant that the whole thing really kick-started in Shanghai. And I grew up in Shanghai, and so like I can shit on Shanghai not only as a Chinese but as like almost a Shanghaian as well. But it's like NYC, like the other parts of China find the city to be cringe. It used to be a colony, kind of like Hong Kong, but even more so than Hong Kong, arguably, because it's like an international colony and not just a British colony. And I think during the second day, like you showed it before, they literally like gathered in the Starbucks and started protesting in front of the Starbucks. And even like in America, like there's even a debate about like baristas and whether like coffee drinkers are like proletariats. But like in China, in the popular consciousness, if you ask, well, what does a petit bourgeois look like? Like people would likely describe some Shanghai dude dressing a suit and sipping coffee in a coffee shop or something. Like these are like the archetypical like annoying, like urban middle class type of people who are just completely out of touch. It's not just the rural masses and the countryside and the small towns, but also be disconnected and out of touch with the masses, the working people of their own city. And I think, ironically enough, I do think if there's one downside of the COVID lockdown policy, is that they made these people even more disconnected from the masses, because they become more reliant on online in terms of their jobs, in terms of their discourse.
So,
they really think
a lot of people don't know
like
this,
Twitter.
but in China, the zero COVID policy affects mainly cities the most. In rural China, what is the nature of the lockdowns, if any at all, in rural China? Because in America, there was an attempt to impose lockdowns on everyone, not just these major cities. What is your understanding of the situation of lockdowns?
Good morning, Revolution.
Thank you, MJ.
Like,
appreciate it.
all the strict lockdowns pretty much are executed in urban contexts, which is the cities. I mean, it's just there's a couple aspects to it. Well, one is just logistic. Like there's no reason for you to lock down large sector of the countryside aside from certain points near the very beginning of the pandemic, like 3 years ago. But other than that, it's mostly being focusing on the major urban centers. So, and I mean, when I say cities, I don't mean just like any city. I mean like the large cities. Like technically speaking, if you look at just the numbers in China, same with the US, they will tell you that the urban population is like the majority. But sociologically, like the small towns are not really cities. Like they are like very much tied sociologically with the countryside.
Mhm.
They are more like old industry, like traditional industry. Manufacturing have a much higher proportion of there in terms of their economy. Whereas whereas the major metropolitan center, well, they have their like important industry as well in Shanghai and in Guangzhou and in Shenzhen and everywhere. But a lot of their economy is are like service based. For example, like restaurants and shops, malls, and some
So the picture I'm kind of
finance.
getting here is that in China, because it's such an organized society, China mainly sees the service sector rather than the basis of its economy. So here in America, the service sector, which is services, just going out, luxury kind of leisure, kind of movie theaters, restaurants. That's the backbone of our economy right now, right? That's all we have. That's all the American people have. Whereas in China, these are symbols of kind of excess and wealth. China has this bedrock, this foundational bedrock of a economy that is based in agriculture or manufacturing, real jobs, real economy. So when China locks down its cities so harshly, it's not devastating people's lives in the same way that it is in America, because they still have this economic foundation that's actually based in the production of real material things. These restaurants and other things in these cities, those you can always have more of that. They can always, rise from the ruins and do more of that. They're always going to have a solid foundation to return to. Whereas in America, we don't have a solid foundation. If you lock down someone's restaurant, you've just taken away their entire basis of getting by, their whole livelihood. They may as well be homeless without that. I mean, you're just devastating people on a large scale. Whereas it doesn't seem like that's the case in China. What do you think about that?
Well, yes. No, I'm not trying to downplay like the real suffering that the Chinese economy is currently going through, and it's not just because of COVID. Like the entire world's economy is in a difficult situation right now. I think most people in China are more honest about it than we are in the U.S. The service sector is just being down. There's no turning around it, and even in China, like that's a huge portion of the economy. And there are like other factors playing into it, and so there are like very strong dissatisfaction in the major cities, and but the thing is though, like I still don't feel like even with everything aside from those very fringe and cringe people, like even despite their dissatisfaction, they still was hope. The hope was like there's still hope the governments can actually deal with the COVID situation. Like it's just the assumption is that the governments in the Chinese governments, by working with the Chinese people, are able to and can able to eliminate COVID from China. Like even if you read the demand, quote unquote demand that the student protests are making, like they are not trying to they're not even denying the achievements and the importance of the anti-COVID policies. They in fact very much affirmed it because people remember it and people know it. People knew how China was actually the first country to open up initially during COVID, like 2 years ago, and they still view the virus as a threat, as a almost as a potentially threat that comes from the outside, that is a foreign threat. And people view the country as part as their family. So is this for the goodness of all to fight against the virus? And
So
the CBC is doing its however adequately or not, they're doing it for everyone. They're not trying to do it with some specific agenda to control the population for the benefits of some shady behind the scene
So,
power or something.
first, I would like to say, for all those watching, if you don't like the stream, you are ugly by nature, and that's science. Second of all, I also wanted to add to that, though, and ask, well, I'm kind of... It's almost seems to me like China has this long history of a very strict distinction between inside and outside. You know, you have the foreign... It seems like they're very sensitive to foreign influences throughout history. I think this is symbolized by things like the Great Wall of China. And what a lot of people don't quite understand is that whereas in the United States, lockdowns seem foreign to us, in a country like China, the COVID virus is what's foreign. They see that as a foreign threat. And the reason they see it as a foreign threat, by the way, is because it seems to affect, correct me if I'm wrong about this, seems to affect Chinese people disproportionately more than it does Americans or Europeans, I should say. And there's been a lot of speculation, and the official opinion of the Chinese government is a mystery on this, that, well, we can't really talk about it on YouTube, but there has been speculation that, well, there's more to this virus than just something that came from bat soup. That, well, America has a long history of biological weapons, and it would be awfully convenient. Again, we can't really say much on YouTube, but it would be awfully convenient for the enemies of China to, you know, be somehow involved with a hypothetical agent that just so happens to disproportionately target Chinese people more than others, to destroy China's economy and destroy China in general, politically. I mean, what if what if this might even be part of the plan, right? Look at creating discontent on part of the Chinese people with these lockdowns. Of course, there's a lot of discontent. It's a zero-win situation, right?
Yeah,
if
there
the
have been
virus
rumors of sabotage.
Yeah, if the virus is allowed to spread in China, I'll explain it this way. We don't care about these things because we don't have a real economy. China does. So if the virus is allowed to spread to China, it will not only decimate the Chinese people, it will decimate their manufacturing base, it will decimate their economy, it'll set it all into chaos, it'll cause panic, and it'll cause fear from the ground up. China will be in big trouble. But if they also contain it in the way they're trying to right now with zero COVID, that will create resentment and discontent on part of the Chinese people. So you're dealing with a very difficult situation where, believe it or not, and I can't talk about this on YouTube, but the Chinese government is also very resistant to adopt the method of vaccination that exists in the United States. Let's just say they're not so keen on adopting our very innovative technologies here. They're not, they're not really that keen on adopting the mRNA technology, and that's probably because they didn't trust the science as we are supposed to. Because, of course, I would never question the science because I would get censored otherwise. But in China, they're not really that interested in that. So this is the only way for them to contain the virus. And they have to contain the virus because it will do severe damage to the country and the economy if they don't. Now, there's a retard in the chat named Noble Nomad who claims I'm lying. If I'm lying, get in VC and show me how I'm lying. Go ahead, just get in VC and just explain how I'm lying. You said this is not how What?
Wuhan is in the middle of the country and the transportation hub of the country. Ideal place to start spreading a coof, thoughtful face.
Thank you, Siderite. Yeah, Wuhan is in the middle of the country and the transportation hub of the country. It's very interesting that that's where it started to proliferate in China. That's pretty convenient for people who would like to see the Chinese economy and China as a country be destroyed. So Noble Nomad is going to get in VC, and they're going to explain how I'm lying. So go ahead, Noble Nomad, get in the show queue, and I'll drag you right up. Prove the virus, Haas. What do you mean? What does that mean? What do you mean prove the virus? You mean prove the COVID virus exists? I got COVID myself, so it definitely exists. Prove it? Okay, I'm going to use my anecdotal evidence. I got COVID when I was in Los Angeles. There you go. I'm not sure. I don't know if I didn't know there was a debate about whether it exists or not. Was that just a placebo on my part? I caught something. And was that a placebo on my part? Getting sick does not... He said getting sick does not equal COVID. Oh, I got a cold. This is the best take yet. This is the best take yet. Dude, you know they can view this thing under microscopes, right? Are you fucking stupid? This is the best take yet. You're sitting here and complaining because I'm acknowledging the existence of the virus. So you're saying I didn't get a fucking cold, dude. I was out for like a week and a half. And it was really intense too. It was extremely intense mentally. It was extremely intense physically. It was delirium. It was horrible. It didn't last too long. And I did test positive. Yes, I did. What do you mean it's not real? So what did I get? When I went to Los Angeles, what did I get? Maybe you're just dramatic. Yes, colds and flu can do that. But I've gotten the flu before, and this was different from the flu. And this is definitely not a fucking cold. He says they can't view any virus. So, do you think viruses don't exist? Just to be clear. Okay, you can't see them in an optical microscope, which is not what I said, but under an electron microscope, you can view them. So your claim is that viruses are not real in general. Are they not real? Viruses in general are not real. Yeah, I definitely got a virus, all right? Okay, well, that's not they said I was lying, and I thought they were like, it was going to be like a different angle, but if this is your angle that I'm lying, okay, fine. You know, I don't really... Yeah, I guess... The things they view in are never proved to be pathogenic. They just tell people that and they believe it at face value. So... So you're saying all viruses are just colds and the flu. How do you know the flu exists? Okay? Can you prove the flu exists? Yeah, this is not worth engaging. I'm ignoring this shit. I'm done. I'm done, alright? I'm done, dude. I'm done, alright? This is a troll. And it's a good troll. It's a good troll, but I don't fucking understand it. We've got to get to a point where we just say, you know what? Get in VC and explain yourself. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm not going to just dismiss you. I'll give you a chance, okay? I will give you a chance. I will give you a damn chance to explain just what the hell you're talking about, because it's not making sense to me, okay? Go ahead and get in VC and just explain to me what I'm getting wrong here. Get in the show queue. Go ahead. Thank you so much, Chris Morlock.
It wasn't COVID. Zerka gave you the Albanian flu,
Yeah.
aka the Revenge of Enver
Must have
Hoxha.
been. Where do I go for VC? Someone link him to Discord. You got to get in the Discord. Tell us your Discord name. We will give you a member right away. Go ahead and join the Discord.
Albanian flu.
Okay, go ahead. All right, he's getting in VC, and guys, I want to keep you up to date and remind you, if you do not like the stream, it's because your mother hates you. So the only way to earn your mother's love is to like the stream, or she's never going to talk to you again. And if you don't like the stream, you're going straight to hell. Can you give us your Discord name, sir? Is anyone going to link them to Discord? I'll do it myself. Gotta do everything myself, man. Copy message link. And then I'll just... It's right here. Go ahead. Join the Discord. It doesn't seem like they're joining. All right, well, they're not going to join. I mean, I'm open to a lot of things. It's just if you sit in my chat and call me a liar without explaining yourself, you know, you can't really expect a good response from me. But in good faith, you know, if you're coming from somewhere reasonable, I mean, I can level with you. I can somehow level with you and try and hear where you're coming from, because it's just a very bizarre thing to say in general. Well, okay, we're gonna have to move on. But so Ezra, what do you think about doing a Twitter space on this right now and debating people?
I think we can try that. How?
Yeah, I'm gonna try that, and then I
So
want everyone
you're
to
gonna start it.
Yeah, I'll start one.
Okay.
Where do you want to start one?
I think it would be easier if you start one because people.
Okay, yeah, I'll start one right now. Sure. Okay, let's do this. All right. Space has started. Now, hopefully tomorrow, beginning tomorrow, I don't know, like sometime this week, hopefully I'll get unbanned. I'm not sure, though. Hopefully this week, right? I don't know when it's going to be. But for now, I'm going to have to use my alt to do this. And we're going to talk about the Soros color revolution in China. I want everyone to spread this far and wide. I will even link you the announcement. I just want you to retweet it. Everyone just go ahead and retweet this Twitter space. And we're going to talk about the Soros. George Soros is undertaking a color revolution in China. And this much is provable just by virtue of all of the relevant facts. George Soros is waging war on China. He claims Xi Jinping is the number one threat to the open society. The so-called uprising in China has all of the hallmarks of every color revolution in the history of the world, and so-called conservatives like Jack Posobiec and Marsha Blackburn and all these other so-called dissident populist conservatives are jumping on the bandwagon supporting the latest globalist agenda in China. Okay? And yeah, I'm going to rename it the Barista Color Revolution. Because this proves we were right about the barista discourse. It's a barista color revolution. The baristas are engaged in this uprising in order to destroy China, and the so-called red lib left wants to claim that baristas are the revolutionary subject, even though baristas are the class that is at the fore of trying to destroy China and overthrow the Chinese government and serve the interests of imperialism. And the Starbucks union is supporting the Chinese protests. Huh. The Starbucks Barista Workers United supporting the protests within China. Quite interesting, is that not? Quite interesting, is that not? And people were asking why I considered them to be counter-revolutionaries. In any case, the color revolution in China, which is even being named the white paper revolution, totally not a color revolution, even though it's literally given its own pet color revolution name, quite out in the open. This is now happening in China, and we are supposed to believe that a so-called mass movement whose maximum peak of protesters within China reached 1,000 people in one place. We're supposed to believe that this spells the end for the Communist Party of China. No, it doesn't. It does spell the beginning of cuck-servatives and retard leftists in the United States of America to use platforms like Twitter to help astroturf anti-China sentiment to build consensus for a war against China, which, by the way, is the number one agenda of the ruling class, unanimously, united both on the left and the right. This is what they want to do. And we're led to believe somehow that, you know, oh, you're such a revolutionary, or you're such a conservative dissident for supporting the globalist deep state's agenda in China. That's definitely something independent-minded patriots should definitely take seriously. I would like to see some of these rightists come up here and defend the indefensible and defend why should Joe Biden, as Jack Posobiec, I'm actually going to just show this to you because we're going to just pull up the tweet. Jack Posobiec. And this is just insane, right? This is a Department of Defense agent who is complaining about the grooming of children by the LGBT movement, but is supporting the same forces of the LGBT movement in the context of China. Look at this idiotic tweet right here. Look at this idiocy, this pure undistilled stupidity. Your space. Right over here. According to Jack Posobiec, Biden can't speak out against the CCP crackdowns because they own him. Imagine the blackmail they have on his family, given what we've already seen on his laptop. Now, I'd like to see any evidence that Biden is in bed with the Communist Party of China in any capacity whatsoever. I would like to see some evidence that Biden can't speak out against the protests. Maybe he won't speak out against the protests because he knows that he can't dupe the Chinese and the international community in the same way retards like Jack get duped on Twitter. So you're living in America, you're getting duped into the idea that there's this huge thing going on in China that's going to overthrow the CBC. Biden knows that's a lie. The international community knows that's a lie. But if you're on Twitter, you are going to be duped into being convinced that this is the imminent overthrow of the Communist Party of China when a maximum of 1,000 people congregate in one place. And that's supposed to spell the end for the Communist Party of China. What a fucking joke. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's the epitome of stupidity, is what it is. And it's a fucking disgrace. There's a color revolution in China. The Starbucks baristas are behind it and supporting it. I was vindicated on multiple counts, turns out. And we want to at Jack Posobiec because I'm sick of forgiving these so-called right-wing pundits for their idiocy. I'm sick of forgiving them. You should know better by now. You should be more educated. You're supposed to be the elite, the cream of the crop of the so-called dissident conservative movement, and yet at every fucking turn, you just repeat the narratives of the status quo. Why should we find that forgivable, huh? These so-called leaders of the conservative movement, these so-called dissidents, all they fucking do is parrot the agenda of the ruling class in one capacity or the other. Now, they can critique the culture war shit as long as they want. When it comes to the meat and potatoes of what's actually driving the interests of the ruling class, they will always be on board with the agenda. If these people, like Jack Posobiec, were living in 2004, they would have been at the fore of the initiative to invade Iraq. They would have said, oh, well, I'm going to be critical of some of what the government's doing, but we definitely need to invade Iraq. That's what they would have told us. And now they're going to say the Iraq war was a disaster. Why couldn't you say it was a disaster at the time of being? Right? Because you're a fraud and a fake and a phony. You're a fraud. You're not a real conservative. You're not a real dissident. You're not a real rebel. You're a fraud. It's being astroturfed all over Twitter. It's trending. 900,000 tweets. You think this is organic? You're an idiot. Don't know what to tell you. There's no way in hell that's organic. There is no shot. There is no chance anything about that is organic. None at all. And we're being led to believe that it is. Excuse me, I don't believe that. Not by a long shot. Right? You were wrong this time. Totalitarian technocrats, WEF, Schwab, praise China's totalitarian model is something to be emulated across the world. Jason, I saw that clip, and we're actually going to watch it together since you're bringing it up. And we're going to watch it together, and I'm going to show you exactly what Klaus Schwab said about China. Because I'm seeing this stupid lie get repeated so often in conservative circles. It's based in a bunch of bullshit, and I'm going to show it to you, okay? So this is the claim. So this is Klaus Schwab on CGTN, and this is what he said.
Information. So we have to define how the world should look like, which we want to come out of this transformation period. I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years.
Now, there is no serious public figure who can go to Chinese media and deny the achievements of China over the last 40 years. The way they've rapidly modernized and industrialized and alleviated people from poverty, that's not an indictment. Let's continue.
I think it's a role
That would be like him saying the sky is blue.
model for many countries.
It's a model for many countries.
But I think also we should leave it to each country.
So, which countries did he have in mind? Did he have in mind America and Canada and Europe? No! He has in mind countries in Africa and countries in Asia and in the developing world who need to develop their countries just like China did 40 years ago. He is not referring to America in any capacity, and I have proof. Watch.
To make its own decision what system it wants to adopt.
What system they want to adapt. What is he referring to there? He's referring to the two systems, the Chinese one and the American or European one. Democracy versus Chinese authoritarianism. That's what he's referring to. He's not saying that he thinks it's a model for America. And by the way, he's saying this to Chinese media for diplomatic purposes. But at the end of the day, this guy is at war with China. So are the other globalists, and so is the entirety of the ruling class, and that is undeniable. He wants to destroy the Chinese system because it gets in the way of his Great Reset agenda. The Great Reset is about degrowth. China has no intention to degrow anything. Neither does the model of development entailed by China have anything to do with degrowth or the environmental agenda.
And I think we should be very careful in imposing systems. But the Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for information.
So it's a only attractive model and it cuts off.
For the model for the
He literally says it.
But the Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model.
It's only a very attractive model for developing countries, is what Klaus Schwab is allowed to say. And he's probably going to shoehorn somewhere in there countries that are not yet developed enough to have democracy. Because at the end of the day, Klaus Schwab is a promoter of democracy, liberal democracy. World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab's protege, Trudeau, has a deeply avowed admiration for China's dictatorship.
Everything we discuss is then leaked to the paper. That's not appropriate. And that's not all the way.
By the way, this was mistranslated because what she actually said was that what we discussed, you lied about it. You lied to the paper about what we privately discussed. You misrepresented it. You lied. What the paper said was not what we discussed.
Conversation was conducted. If there is sincerity on your part, free and open.
Look at this. Yeah, this is. Oh, he's an open admirer of China's dictatorship. Right in front of Xi Jinping himself, he's saying, "We believe in free and open and frank dialogue." The same fucking bullshit democracy babble that every fucking lib shit says. And you're blaming China for Trudeau? China hates Canada more than America. Way more. I promise you that. China is furious that a little shit poodle like fucking Canada, which is nothing without our country, by the way, has the fucking audacity to even think they can speak to China in any capacity at all, besides from being a fucking small poodle shit country of how many fucking million people? I mean, Canada is nothing. Canada is a fucking piece of dust. It's a fucking crop on the face of the earth. And the fact that these insolent, arrogant, little shit countries like Canada and Australia have the audacity, on the basis of America's power, by the way, to try and talk down to China is a fucking insult. We wouldn't let some small Asian country talk down to us, but China is supposed to allow some fucking country like Canada disrespect the 5,000-year-long civilization. It's an insult, not only to China, but to the history of humanity at large. It's fucking Justin Trudeau's Canada that took Huawei's executive hostage. And you're claiming Justin Trudeau is an admirer of China? No, he's not. He hates China, and China hates him even more.
Dialogue, and that is what we will continue to have. We will continue to look to work constructively together, but there will be things we will disagree on, and we will have to.
Look at this idiot. He just looks like a stupid idiot. He looks like a fucking moron. He's just over-enthusiastic retard democracy promoter. Shove your fucking democracy, which is really Hitlerite fascist dictatorship.
Canada held
Thank you, Johnny.
hostage for the globalists. Canada is just a globalist puppet.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Terry.
The regime change props are trained in framing videos to make crowds appear larger than they are.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious
Very
in some
true.
of the vids posted.
That they've done this for so fucking long, and the fact that these cuck-servatives are falling for it, it's fucking pathetic. I can't fucking believe it. It's actually fucking pathetic. It's like a disgrace. It's so fucking pathetic that they fall for this shit. I can't believe how you can fall for this shit. Jason is still replying to me. Okay. No, he's not. I don't see him. I do not see him, even in the live chat. So you're wrong. So democracy, you see what democracy is in Canada. It's banks shutting your accounts down and all this fuck shit. That's what it is in Canada. That's what it is in Canada. And Trudeau wants to talk down to China on what basis?
Let's create the conditions first. Your path,
Free and open
austerity, if there is sincerity,
So they mistranslated Xi, where he actually said not that everything was leaked, it was lied about and distorted. They lied. So this is what happened. I'm going to explain to you what happened between Xi Jinping and Justin Trudeau. There's a lot of people that don't know this. So they did not have a formal meeting. They were walking down the hallway, and Trudeau stopped Xi for a hallway conversation, a very quick one. So they had a brief talk, and then, thank you so much, Black Pack.
Their national anthem is sad.
So they had a brief talk, and then Justin walked on along, right? And then he went and told the press what a fucking tough guy he was, that I went to Xi's face in a meeting, and I expressed to him how much I'm concerned about human rights and democracy and all this shit. And Xi punked his ass by stopping him at the G20, and he said, listen, you little bitch, that is not how shit went down. We had a very brief hallway chat, and now you're acting like some tough motherfucker on some tough shit when you were smiling and sucking my cock in the hallway for a friendly conversation. And you went and told the fucking press you're a big boy and a tough guy, and you said this, and you didn't say any of that shit, you little bitch, and I didn't say any of that shit either. So that's what fucking happened in this encounter. But the British-run Guardian tried to spin this that Xi got mad that Justin Trudeau leaked a secretive private meeting to the press. No, he didn't. He very much, in a friendly manner, obliged Justin Trudeau's request for a quick hallway chat. And this little bitch Trudeau went to the fucking press and tried to act like a fucking tough guy. That's what fucking happened, okay? Just so we're fucking clear. Just so we're fucking clear. Okay, back to the Twitter space, where it appears absolutely no one is willing to defend the... So all these conservatives will defend the color revolution in China, but none of them are... They're nowhere to be found on Twitter, apparently. None of them will be anywhere to be found here on Twitter, right? No one's going to be talking about this color revolution. Now, we're going to be the only people talking about it, apparently. Nobody's here to debate it. Nobody's here to defend the view that this ought to be supported. Also, Ezra, if you're still there, people weren't able to... I didn't ask this. There's something about Foxconn related to these protests. Could you illuminate us about that, or?
Yeah, so basically, the Foxconn plant in Zhengzhou. The context is, it's hard for us to imagine, but just sorry, just a second. But it's hard for Americans to imagine, but they still have these very highly concentrated large-scale factories. The factory plant in Zhengzhou is literally has more than 100,000 workers living there, so it's basically a small city itself. So that has a little bit of a problem because the Chinese COVID measure depends on coordinations between governments and the people and various administration, but the Foxconn plant was basically under the control of the factory and the private operator, and it's a Taiwanese company. So the COVID control measure was very poor. The some worker got very sick, and they are still living in crowded dormitory with the rest of the people. So there was an outbreak, and the quarantine procedure was forcibly enforced in very poor manner, and there's people people which basically fled the factory, and then there was lots of criticism against Foxconn, so the local government has to intervene, and that was the context like a few months ago. And in order to fill in the shortage of the workers, the company basically hired a bunch of temporary contract workers, and apparently they either lied or miscommunicated about the salary, the promised salary, or something about like the amount of time they need to work before they are able to leave to get the salary. So once the workers arrive, there's a massive anger, legitimately so. So there was a strike, and the strike was primarily not related to COVID. It was about demanding basically the workers want their money back. And but there's also people demanding that the company actually follow the guidance of the government in enforcing the COVID rules. So it's not nowhere near an anti-COVID protest in the way the recent protests in the major cities are. And that protest lasted. It's very much a working class thing, but it lasted like a few hours. So after people went out, so the company basically conceded. They promised everyone 10,000 yuan, like for everyone. So most people just take money and went home. That's the story. That's pretty much it. So the Western media is very like shamelessly try to paint it as a anti-lockdown protest when it's anything but. Like most of the people, if anything, were criticizing the company executive for not following the lockdown rules and for subjecting them to potentially dangerous conditions. But primarily, again, it's dispute over payment, and most people got in and just left after government's pressure. So it's a very typical labor strike in China. So people strike and protest over concrete specific issues, and local governments intervenes. The protest was dispersed because they cannot allow the social disturbance, but on the other hand, they also force basically the two sides to communicate and force the company to to repay what they owe to the workers.
So, the stream mic was off. Holy fuck. My bad. Guys, I just want to show you some more tweets from the conservative right. And if you look at this, China is in the midst of its largest uprising since Tiananmen Square. The West's silence is defeating. His name is End Wokeness. Retard! Who do you think is going to bring wokeness to China? You fucking idiot. Your name is End Wokeness, but you're supporting the very foundational forces of wokeness on the international stage. It makes no sense. Why would you support the fucking State Department agenda in China? And you're saying the West's silence is defeating? No, it's not. The West is making noise on Twitter with fucking dumb fucks like you buying right into it and eating it right up. They're not going to say it in their official capacity at this stage because that would give away the fucking game. But they're using Twitter to fucking... Hey, retard End Wokeness. How did you find out about the Chinese protests? Did you just go there? No, you found out because it was trending on Twitter. So how did it get trending on Twitter, retard? Did it get trending on Twitter? because the protesters in China blew it up on Twitter? No. It got trending on Twitter because of the fucking West and the fucking CIA and the State Department. So shut the fuck up, you fake rebel, you fake anti-establishment cuck. You're a bitch, a retard, and a cuck. You are not a man. You let your wife get fucked, and you want her to get fucked even harder. You're a cuck who's mad that your wife you're not getting cucked enough right now. You're an idiot. You're a dumb fuck. You're not a rebel. You're not a revolutionary. I'm sick of this dumb shit. You're a retard. Go vote for fucking DeSantis in 2024. End wokeness. And go fucking support DeSantis and the Department of Defense agenda for war against China. You goddamn fucking sucker.
There are literally like people using BLM like slogans and like rainbow symbol in the protest.
Yeah, they're literally that your name is End Wokeness, but you're supporting protesters in China. That is wokeness, retard. Where do you think wokeness comes from? It comes from the same people like George Soros who support color revolutions in China, Russia, Iran, and the world over. But you're a fucking idiot, is what you are. You DeSantis retard. Oh, end wokeness, but supported in China. How does that make sense? Now we have Jack Posobiec, the retard who called for war against Russia because of the fake news that a missile hit fucking Poland that was Russian in origin, allegedly. Look at this retard. Truly amazing to see so many celebrities and athletes supporting the brave people in China today. Oh, wait, never mind. Dude, it just started. I guarantee to you, if these protests actually become significant, all celebrities and athletes will support them. And Jack, I just have a question for you. If all these celebrities and athletes come out in support of Chinese protests, are you going to get on your knees and on camera and admit to the world you're a retard who is buying into the fucking agenda of the ruling class and thinking you're a rebel just because you're the first at the scene? Dude, congrats. It's like, dude, you are... You know how like in France after the revolution there's the first citizen? And that was Napoleon? Jack is the first retard cuckold who was like among the first people to get exposed to the AstroTurf, which was through Twitter. It's only a matter of time before it spreads to the mainstream media and to the celebrity class. It's going to spread to Twitter first, where retard fake dissidents like Jack Posobiec are going to immediately absorb it and pretend that there's such anti-establishment revolutionaries and rebels and dissidents fighting the woke agenda for doing it. You're an idiot, sir. I have no sympathy for you. And why am I being so harsh on this guy? Because I've lost patience with these fucking people. At this point in time, if you are an influencer who has 1.8 million followers, and you are still saying the same stupid bullshit about China, and you haven't even caught on to the truth, I don't know what to tell you. You are like either intentionally spreading lies, or you are mentally retarded, and you need to be immediately discarded by the MAGA movement and the conservative movement. How much you want to bet this guy's going to support DeSantis down the line? We have a guy named Iron Man. What is he going to say? Go ahead, Iron Man. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Iron Man. Where is Iron Man? Apparently this is not Iron Man anymore. Okay. Apparently they're gone. I mean, you just see videos like this. This is such a fucking op. Dude, if you fall for this, you're a fucking idiot. Like, look at videos like this that dumb fucks slop up every day, like slop, right? They just eat it up like fucking slop every day. Just in Life in China Now, people are lining up to take daily routine COVID tests under police supervision. It's a totalitarian nightmare. Dude, China's really scary. Good thing DeSantis is going to become president, and then we're going to go to war with China. Yeah, you read it. We did it. And you think, like, people think they're like these, like rebellious dissidents when they see this shit. They're like, oh my God, do you use Reddit? I use Reddit, and I'm seeing what's going on in China, man. It's not good, man. I saw that because I'm an independent thinker. I saw what's going on in China. This is totally not astroturfed. This is totally not propaganda to demonize China's sovereignty and attack. See, China, anything, look, they will do anything and everything to shit on China. China's trying to get rid of this fucking COVID shit with zero COVID instead of using mRNAs. Then we're going to just demonize them and make them look like shit. That's what the CIA and the State Department and the military is doing on the fucking internet. Eglin Air Base, the #1 source of traffic for Reddit.com. Eglin Air Base. You see shit on the internet instead of mainstream media and you think it's anti-establishment? No, it's fucking not. Who the fuck do you think created the internet? This is where they started. The Arab Spring, which we know was begun by the CIA now, started on Twitter, not CNN. Arab Spring started on Twitter, not CNN. You're not a fucking anti-establishment hero and smart guy because you're gobbling up bullshit that's spread about China. Now, do I know the context of this video? I have no idea what this is. I don't even know if this is related to COVID. I have no proof of it. I don't even know what this is. But you believe what they're saying about it. Why? What have these people done to earn your trust? Because they've lied so much. They've taken videos from Xinjiang and said it was a genocide against Uyghurs when it had nothing to do with that. They've shown prisoners who are not even Uyghur being transported from train to train, claimed they were Uyghurs being sent to camps, and you believed it, even though it was a lie, and now they're spreading this about China, and you actually fucking believe this is real and not propaganda? You're an idiot. Thank you all that is solid.
Country you don't live in. _Kek.
I want to show you the biggest retard of all. Definitely glowing. Like, really glowing. Look at this guy. Okay? Look at this guy. So I'm just going to type China in the search, and this is the first thing. So you type China in the search on Twitter, and this is the first thing you get. I think that's because the deep state is totally in support of China. And then on Twitter, this is like the people rising up against Klaus Schwab. You fucking idiot. This is literally what they want you to think. It's the first thing you see on Twitter. You think that's you? What do you think? What do you think the reason for that is, huh? American patriot! China is fighting back! Down with the communists! Is this the anthem of China?
Yeah.
So they're singing the Chinese national anthem.
That's like, I mean, that's very common in protests. the POC national anthem. Like in most countries, I think people do that.
Yeah, but does this mean down with the communists of the CCP? Like, this guy's so... Okay, I want to show you the most glowing account in the history of the world. This account is called American Patriot, and it's at Cold War Patriot. And this is what they're doing, is they're supporting a Cold War against China. And this is totally not like a CIA, State Department run account. China has had enough. Oh my God, look, it's a bunch of people who are walking on the street in a very orderly and civil manner. This is completely the implosion of the Chinese state. Yeah, this looks pretty disorderly. I don't know what this is, though. This may not even be from today. This could be like from...
This is I think the Foxconn protest.
Oh, this is not even about COVID then, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
So this is the workers' protest against Foxconn, a private company. Foxconn is not state-owned, right?
No, it's not. It's a Taiwan.
Yeah, Foxconn is a Taiwan private business, and workers are protesting it. Okay? It's on in China. Things are getting wild in China. I mean, like, if you're an idiot, you look at this shit, and you just think to yourself, this is the end of the Communist Party. Look at it. It's a bunch of crazy shit going on, right? And they're filming it in a way that makes it look like this is like millions of people. This is like 1,000 people max. And
a lot of people are just there, too. Like, they're just like...
But if you filmed the aftermath of a football game in America, it would be the same amount of pandemonium. If you film a college football game aftermath on a college camp, I mean, like, it's the same pandemonium. Is this the end of the American regime? No, it's not. This is manipulation. This is propaganda. People need to learn how to be in the know about this kind of shit. Because it's propaganda 101, okay? You manipulate shaky cameras and you're just showing pandemonium out of context, and then you're just telling people that this is like a revolution.
Yoas, what do you
Thank
think
you,
about
Moonman.
Optimus simping the corrupt Ukrainian government through his news videos?
Moonman, I don't know who Optimus is, so I can't really talk about that. Guys, I wanna say this though, right? The weird thing is, it's like what the media believes in is something called hyperstition. They don't have the theory of hyperstition, but Nick Land's idea of hyperstition, that's what it is. They hype something into existence that doesn't even exist. It's called the big lie, right? You make it appear like a revolution is happening in the hope that if enough people believe one is happening, that it will actually happen. And that's really their method. That's not what's happening in China. You're seeing some pretty scattered, relatively small protests compared to American protests. I mean, again, these are not a lot of people in one place. It's not. But we're being told otherwise by manipulative camera angles. And the reason you're gullible, let me tell you something. If you're a random person on Twitter or using the internet, it's like you see this shit and then you think to yourself, oh my God, it's like this is raw footage. It couldn't possibly occur to you. This is Hitler's big lie. It couldn't possibly occur to you that what you're seeing is manipulated in a very specific way to elicit the response that they're getting from you. Like, your response is not natural. It was manufactured. Your response to this footage on Twitter is manufactured. And the ruling class knows that if they just show it to you on CNN, you're going to be skeptical, right? But if they use Twitter, it's going to make it seem like this was not planned in a central way. Like, oh, these are fellow Twitter users spreading truth. No, it's not. This is planned from the top down in a central way. It's astroturf to make it seem like you're in a state of truth with your, oh, we're on Twitter. This is, no, it's not. It's all fucking manufactured and fake. Okay, so this is hilarious. Benny Johnson, let's go. This great conservative, Benny Johnson. China is collapsing. The communists don't want you to see this. 11,000 likes. Let's see. The collapse of China.
Are a hotbed for the protests.
Breaking news. Protest.
Good morning, Revolution.
Thank you so much, Defund. Appreciate you, man. Holy fuck, thank you, man. Appreciate it. A ton.
Breaking news. Protests erupting in China over the CCP's zero COVID policy, with chants for the removal of President Xi heard in the streets of Shanghai.
History is happening right now in China. China is imploding. China is collapsing.
Okay, well, this person is just a nominal retard. Soy facing in every video. This is sad, okay? This is sad. But at the very least, this isn't the same person who was producing the videos claiming China's economy is on the verge of collapse because of the Evergrande scandal.
Right now, what you are seeing in dozens of cities across China are mass protests against zero COVID policy. This is the policy that locks people in their homes, that keeps you from going to work, seeing loved ones, from getting medical attentions, and it certainly is the most inhuman COVID policy in all of the world. These are the same policies that have been cheered on by leftists and Soviets and communists all throughout the West.
Leftists, okay. I don't really see them praising these by and large. Soviets. What Soviets exist in the West, Benny? You sound like an idiot right now. What Soviets and communists? Which communists? There are no fucking communists in the West. You mean these blue hair? Who are you talking about? Please point them. You mean Democrats? This guy makes, he would lead you to believe. Thank you, hot take.
Also just so happens this all occurs in the aftermath of the KMT winning big over the separatist progressive Pelosi party in Taiwan in the elections. Totally
just a coincidence. So this guy would have you believe that there are big, burly, Ushanka-wearing Soviet communists running around in the West. You are flattering leftists in the West, dude. Those people are fat, blue-haired, malformed degenerates who would have been the first to be thrown in Stalin's gulags. Those are definitely not Soviets. Considering the Soviets put hippies in jail, I find it hard to believe that American leftists would have been tolerated in a place like the Soviet Union.
And China is now seeing Judgment Day in its zero COVID policy that has been barked down from on high by the Chinese dictator Xi Jinping. The dictator Xi Jinping, who just won an illegal third term as president, has said that zero COVID will be the policy. That means when there's a COVID outbreak, you get welded into your home.
I don't think that's what it means. Ezra, what do you think? Do you think the zero COVID policy means that when there's a outbreak, you get welded into your house? What do you think?
No, it's not. I mean, I have like a relative in China, and then they never spoke of anything ridiculous like that. So I have like outbreak right in the same community, and then like it's just like any other quarantine. Like it's just like what even is this video? Like it feels like something completely out of context, and has nothing to do with this people wear these suits, but like that's just procedure. Like
It's
I've
like
never heard of.
it's almost like this is a welder suit.
I mean, I think random workers wear these suits like in the outside, but like that's not all of them are like people who are like doing the quarantine, and they're not like. And also, like, people are not idiots. People know that's like you cannot just like will the doors on. Like, I think people just sometimes underestimate. Like, you don't have to like the Chinese Communist Party that much, but you have to respect their intelligence a little bit more. Like,
in your teeny apartments. This happened inside of Xinjiang, the famous slave encampment and concentration camp province of China.
So that was just a slew of lies. They claimed that in Xinjiang, the fire was a result of people being welded in their doors, when the barriers and obstacles that were fire hazards that prevented people from evacuating in a timely manner had nothing to do with COVID. Those barriers in this outdated apartment building, which there's a lot of those in America, by the way. Do you remember that apartment in Britain where it caught fire and like a bunch of people died? Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I think 100 people died.
Yeah, like 100 fucking people died in Britain because this apartment was so outdated. It caught fire. Like, hundreds die. Nobody gives a fuck. So, I want to say something right now for all the anti-China people. Yeah, Grenfell, yes. So everyone claims that the Chinese people are very heartless and they have no regard for human life. 10 people died because of an outdated, building in Xinjiang. And throughout the whole country, there's outrage over it. 100 people or so die in Grenfell Tower in Britain. No one gives a fuck. It doesn't result in anything that the media decides to spin as an indictment on the British government. So if 10 people die in a building fire in Xinjiang, it's for some reason an indictment on the entire Chinese state. Grenfell is not an indictment on the British government, though. That's what we're supposed to be told. Yeah, remember the apartment that burned in Florida? I remember that one too. The Bronx fires, which no one cared about. Precisely.
In the capital city of Xinjiang.
I want to add a little bit on that, just to interrupt. I think it's just like the ecology on Chinese internet over these incidents are just so different. Like the tiniest event can happen, and the whole nation gets so outraged, and that pressure the local government and sometimes even the central government to intervene to do something concrete. And that is actually a testament of what he called like full process democracy. Because because in America sometimes we get outraged at things online, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Like you get pissed at some injustice. Most of the time it doesn't get anything, even if there's like widespread consensus. So anything to get done, you have to pass laws, you have to get through all the bureaucracy that take years. But like earlier in this year, like beats up a couple of women, like which is like the most normal thing that could have happened, like in terms of violence. Like that called like nationwide outrage, like that hundreds of millions of people demanded change, and the entire local government is under such heavy pressure and scrutiny, and there's like investigation, there's like many different concrete measures done to curb like underground activities. like in America, like you see like people beating on the streets and you see like people dying everywhere and nobody gives a fuck. Like
Yeah,
it's actually a different world. Like,
precisely. Yeah. Yeah, it's a different world. There's actually a connection between the internet and real life in China. Outrage has a political meaning in China, whereas in the United States or Britain, it just means nothing.
A building caught on fire and people that were welded inside due to the zero COVID policies of the regime in China, the Communist Party. Those people died. A dozen.
So this is all a lie. This person is lying. Benny Johnson is a liar.
Are seeing mass protests, something that is illegal.
So you're just witnessing this slew of complete fucking lies about China. This slew of complete fucking unequivocal lies. And, you know, it should really tell you whose interest is it for these lies to be spread? Why are these lies being spread, right? On whose behalf are these lies being spread? What's the reason for these lies, right? Those are the real questions we need to be asking. Did my Twitter space end? What happened? What happened? I left? I kind of shocked.
you're still there according to me, but I couldn't hear you in the space.
Yeah, it says I left. Well, there's a bunch of people that appear to have were requesting before, but are no longer requesting. All right, thank you so
Rev
much,
just
Johnny.
got the attention of Hodgett Wins, a 1M follower anti-China fake conservative account.
No fucking
Rev
way.
challenged them to
Rev
debate.
status. Sorry, Rev Maxing is their name. Okay, Rev. What happened? He just critiqued the Hodge twins. No fucking way. No fucking way. Look at this. All right, look at this nonsense. Shame on you for supporting the Soros-funded and liberal protests going on in China. I dare to come to this space and argue these protests are organic and not supported by globalists. This person accuses them of being a bot. That's not true. That's a complete lie. It's not a fucking bot. And yeah, I am not a bot. And Rev is asking him for a debate. Where are these bots coming from? Fake conservative, shame on you for supporting the Soros-funded liberal protests going on in China. Debate real Chinese conservatives. I love this idiot here. You're one of those fake Trump supporters who's trying to divide conservatives between Trump and DeSantis. Yeah, we're doing that. We're the ones doing that, not Trump himself, right? Who the fuck is supposed to believe that? I mean, not DeSantis himself. What do you mean? DeSantis openly attacks Trump. You're like, I'm so sick of these fucking people claiming that every time we're telling Trump to get his shit together, oh, you're wrecking, you're dividing. No, we're not. Trump's fucking himself in the foot by not staying true to his original message. By trying to pander to so-called moderates when that had nothing to do with why he entered the political arena in the first place. Debate me publicly, liberal. Look at this, beautiful. You are a fake conservative who believes in liberal media lies about China. Absolutely true. No lies detected. Holy shit, Jackson with the raid. Thank you so much for the raid, Jackson. Appreciate you. Appreciate you a ton, man. Thank you. These are the Hodge twins. I think Zerka knows these people. Actually. Oops. Friendly fire. Oh, too bad, right? Too bad. We have beef with the Hodge twins now. Then he goes, what are the liberal media lies about China? Can't wait to hear this. Okay, and he tells you, I challenge you to a public debate. And where are the Hodge twins? Are they going to debate? Are they going to debate? Are they going to debate? I guess we'll keep spreading lies like the liberals we really are. Guess we got to change our YouTube from conservative twins to lib twins. Now, we could be good faith, but when you spread these lies, you've got to be able to be critiqued. Damn, these commie bots hate us tonight. You stand with Soros against Trump and China. He's responding to everyone. This is so funny. He's like responding to everyone. Where's he at? He's nowhere to be found. Shout out Rev for like spreading the space. Okay. Well, that was that. And now we're going to focus on the space because we actually have some people that apparently it seems to be the case that they want to debate. We have some people that apparently want to debate. So we're going to give them a chance in the sun to debate. We'll give them a chance, okay? So let's go. Let's starting out with a fine gentleman named Viruses Are Fake. So we're going to allow them to speak. Go ahead.
You will not find a single mention of viruses. Yeah, they talked about bacteria, they talked about plague, but they did not talk about viruses.
So you claim that if you read any medical textbook before 1750, they did not talk about viruses.
Exactly.
What's your point?
That viruses are a medical misconception, and it's just caused because they want to see viruses as foreign, when viruses are perfectly natural, and viruses are something that our own body uses to develop our own strength. The reason why you got sick in LA had nothing.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm not here to debate. I just want to add a little bit more information on the unanimously stuff.
Okay, sure.
How it all exploded over the internet is there's a WeChat moment article called you can access the fire escape, and that's why when the news press says there's no COVID lockdown caused them to lock the escape, but they don't believe it, so they spread this disinformation, and they find a little apartment with the same name with the apartment got on fire, and they say, "Oh look, this apartment is on the COVID lockdown place," but yeah, that apartment has the same name, is in the lockdown stage, but the apartment got on fire is not. But they're just try to misguided the audience and public, and then they use the screenshot from the WeChat group texting in the apartment, and they say don't get out of the house and seal the door because that can stop the smoke from entering the house, so we can buy some more time before the firefighter to escape.
So you're saying when they welded the door shut, that was to prevent smoke?
No, they never welded the door. They never welded it. And the people say don't get out of the building. And when they're trying to say stay in your house and use wet towel to seal the the little thing on the door so the smoke cannot get in. and that can buy you more time before the firefighter gets you to save you. And they clip the screenshot and highlight the don't get out, and they try to make it looks like a official make statement say because there's a COVID lockdown, so you cannot get out. So they're just like making like disinformation to misguide you. You think it's a because of COVID lockdown, but it's not. And the one part reason why the fire truck cannot get in because there's like blocks in the entrance, and the blocks, and they try to claim, they try to misguide the audience that the block is like to stop people getting to the building because of COVID, but it's not. Is that block is built in 2014 because there was like terrorist attack in Urumqi, and that block is to prevent the terrorist, and they just hide that information, misguiding the audience. So everybody target on the COVID policy, and because it has so much disinformation, so the article was removed. And because it was been removed, and people say, "Oh, it's been removed, so it definitely has some truth." So they just making like copy and copy, like all or like virus spreading on the internet, and that is how it first got like all over the internet. So the whole thing is based on lie, and the so-called protest in Shanghai. And when they first say they do this to like mourn for the 10 people died in the fire, they say to mourn the people, but what they shout is down for Xi and down for Communist Party, and they say like, and they have a little like Telegram chat, and the first is more for the 10 people, and like recently say if you support CPC, get out. So it's a total like regime change thing, and like, but some like classmates like in my college actually buy this. So basically, like a lot of college students buy this thing.
So this is basic. So do you live in China or?
No. I'm living in DC right now.
So when you say your college classmates, you mean in America or?
No. I do my bachelor in China.
Okay, I see. So a lot of them are buying into the stuff that's being astroturfed on Telegram, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but they didn't know that thing from Telegram, and didn't know like who the RA like Asian Free Radio, that thing. They didn't know
Radio
what
Free
that is.
Asia, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know what that is. And we have like we have Weibo, and people like supporting China say, and they have like this Weibo says, you're kids, so if someone says go revolution, you should say okay, good, bravo, and let them do it first.
So to condense that for people who may not be aware, what our guest is saying is that there's a lot of disinformation that is being astroturfed on Telegram by foreign institutions like Radio Free Asia, and impressionable young college students within China are picking this stuff up, not knowing the origins. And the worst part is that in the group chats in which this stuff is being astroturfed, actual credible information is being censored. So people who are fighting back against the disinformation are being removed from the group chats, so there's no way to counter the disinformation. So a lot of young, impressionable people within China are looking at this stuff, not realizing that this information is being controlled and manipulated in a certain way, and it's leading them to have a false view of the situation even in their own country.
Yeah, that basically is true. I mean, after the whole protest, the like the BBC and the stuff get in, but I really don't. I'm not sure like where this information came from, because people have like grudge against the COVID lockdown, because it used to work, but now it's like just too much breakout, and like people get tired, like especially in Urumqi, they locked down for about over 3 months. So it's like I understand them, but they just like use this as like a chance to like target, just like the thing in Iran, that woman is not being killed by the cops, and they just like use it as like opportunity to do the regime change.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. You know, I agree. You know, I do think that China's zero COVID policies, they're probably very frustrating for the Chinese people. It's just that there's so much disinformation being spread about it now, and it's also being manipulated in a way to become extreme, right? That you go from dissatisfaction with a policy to the claim that, you know, the party should be, the Chinese state needs to be overthrown, basically, right? It just seems very opportunistic to me.
Yeah, and a lot of like Chinese liberals like go to Twitter and like talk about this, and now they like discuss how what they can do to frustrate the like the people to test to tech their do their PCRs. So because there's a lot of people have to do this work, but they're mostly volunteers, so they have to do a lot of work. So they're teaching how to frustrate them, to make them anger, to make them not want to do this. So they're basically teaching people against it, to like break this COVID lockdown.
So
they're
these
like
people have a deeper
everything.
agenda, right? They're trying to spread the so-called liberal democracy. They don't even care about the COVID lockdown. They don't even care about the COVID crisis. They're trying to exploit the dissatisfaction of the Chinese people to basically serve the interests of American imperialism.
You can say that because at least from what I see is like the people requested to like open to shut down the lockdown is actually promoting like Pfizer like new medicine and stuff, and they just like saying that Chinese medicine doesn't work. We need to buy more Pfizer things, and like that basically like that, especially in Shanghai and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So can you repeat that last part, please?
The last part is there's like Chinese liberals like against the COVID lockdown, and they try to push this because when there's a lockdown's been broken, there a lot of people will get like COVID, and there's a possibility of long COVID, and they're saying the Pfizer have the like new medicine is really effective, but actually it's proven it's not effective. Like Biden used that, but still got positive
in
again.
China. That's what they're saying. Because I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm on YouTube right now, and I don't know if we can doubt our corporate masters on YouTube. But yeah, no, okay, I see what you say. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to like phrase this more like YouTube friendly.
So for people not aware of what she just said, or they just said, in China, they are not adopting American big pharma's recommendations for how to treat or combat the virus. And as we know, the so-called dissident, figures in the United States are so critical of big pharma, yet these are the same people to jump on board and believe every form of lie about China that's being spread. Which is, I mean, such a shame and so despicably hypocritical.
Yeah, and especially in Shanghai, because Shanghai is the first Chinese city or province approved that Pfizer medicine. And there's the only one like province including into our Medicare.
Yeah, so Shanghai, which is a very liberal cosmopolitan city, is adopting the foreign medical technology alone, right? And the basic idea is that if they adopt Pfizer's technology, they don't have to do zero COVID. So to explain this to people in coded language, because we can't speak too much on YouTube about it, put it this way. China is saying, instead of Pfizer, we're going to do zero COVID lockdowns. American media is saying, no, we want you to adopt Pfizer's technology to combat COVID. China says we don't want to do that. Shanghai adopts Pfizer's technology, and according to the Chinese authorities, and this is not my opinion, YouTube, please don't censor me, it was not working in Shanghai, which is why they had to continue doing the lockdowns. in Shanghai, where they already tried to use Pfizer's medical technology. It's new and innovative, brilliant, beautiful, flawless medical technology. There's no problems with it at all, and any other opinion is brutally censored. So, of course, this is very sincere on my part. But yes, so many of these dissidents who are always the loudest voices to be critical against Pfizer and to be critical against the medical establishment in the United States are basically saying that they think China should adopt Pfizer's medical technology instead of exercising its own sovereignty to try and eliminate the virus in a way that will be independent from American big pharma.
Yeah, and there's like, for me, I think there's two major issues. One is like for China, like because we are so many people, but we don't have that much like medical workers. We don't have that much doctors. We don't have that much like nurses. And like there's one friend or like, I have a friend. She's she's a nurse, and she said like there's like ton of people came here, and there's like people that are really frustrated, like really tired, and like for the like who didn't get a positive on COVID, who still work in the hospital, but who get a positive work for the like the lockdown thing. Because there's like lockdown hospital just for people who are positive. So like medical workers are really tired, and she said, he sent people. She's saying a pregnant woman came to the hospital, and all the doctor gave all the treatment, and she's a positive uh, positive patient, and she still miscarried she still miscarried the child, and she went on the internet and claimed the doctor didn't give her any treatment, and that's why she miscarried.
Wow. Yeah. So China's dealing with a medical crisis right now. It's not an ideal circumstance. It's not a circumstance anyone here is going to celebrate, but that is not grounds for the adoption of outright propaganda that's trying to villainize China, which is what we're seeing right now.
And the other thing is the Medicare money. What we pay for the insurance is not that much, because like it's basically like public healthcare, universal healthcare. So you don't pay that much. So the Pfizer medicine is like one, it's like 1,200 RMB, and it's a lot for just one box. And for like Chinese medicine, what I had when I get COVID here, because when I got COVID here, I went to my school doctor, and he said you just have some painkiller and get a cough drop. It's like insane. I couldn't even speak. Yeah, so I get the Lianhua Qingwen, like the Chinese medicine from our Chinese embassy, and that's how I got it better. And that medicine, Chinese medicine, is about $30 a box, and you can eat it for 3 days, and you eat it for about a week or two. You can basically get over the like most severe like stage. But instead, they don't want to do that, but they want to use that really expensive imported medicine. And now people in Shanghai also like try to promoting private hospital. The private hospital is like, it's just making most people cannot even get a good treatment. So it's just like, so what I think like people who actually have agenda to push end the zero like zero COVID lockdown is try to like exploit the medical like the funding, because that's only that much we had.
So it's kind of an inroad for a kind of neoliberal infiltration, where they're trying to basically say this means we need to be promoting the private healthcare industry.
Yeah.
Right, at the expense of the universal healthcare that the Chinese already have.
Yeah.
And just add a little bit, the medicine Lianhua Qingwen that Chinese people use is based on traditional Chinese medicine, and it's by experience people know it's effective in assuaging, not curing, but at least assuaging the symptoms And then there's a huge discourse from mostly Shanghai-based pro-Western liberals talking about how this is like pseudoscience. You need to listen to Western Pfizer medicine and vaccines to cure it. It's actually very similar to lots of the controversy in the U.S. In some ways. I don't know how much we can talk about it, but it's very interesting.
Interesting. It's using the technology from Chinese traditional medicine. I find that very interesting, actually.
And also, it's just something that people know by experience works. You know, it's a little bit of like gatekeeping what is science. Like the pro-Western elites are basically gatekeeping what is effective in treating COVID and what isn't. And we've seen similar things, controversy in the United States as well.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up the space. But thank you so much, obviously, Ezra. Thank you so much, Odd Chen, for your input. It was very helpful and very illuminating. And I think I'm going to wrap this up. So, all right, guys. Someone wants to debate. Okay. One's in the chat if you guys... One's in the chat if you guys missed the long form streaming and you want me to stream for like 5 hours again or 4 hours. There's no one in the show requests. This guy wants to debate Haas. And we will arrange a debate session on today's... I have to email Confucius on debating. Okay, I'll email them and we'll get that settled and we'll get that arranged. You guys missed the long form stuff? Streams have been kind of lacking. I agree. You know what else has been lacking is my sub count. Everyone subscribe to the fucking channel. Subscribe to my channel, please. Please. That's okay. I'll put out new videos and stuff. But if you're here, you know, give me a subscribe. Just to give me the impression that I'm growing. At the very least. That would be kind. Be a kind thing. Anyway, guys. I am starting to wake up much earlier. The only difference is that I'm actually, like, doing things. Going places. I'll be back. I fixed my sleep schedule, so don't worry about that. But with that being said, I fixed my sleep schedule. But with that being said, I also can't stream too late because of that same reason. Anyway, guys. There's one thing I can admire about the conservatives and their disgraceful reporting on China. And what that is that what that is that it's
有新中国，没有共产党就没有新中国。共产党辛劳为民族，共产党在新救中国，他几个了人民解放的道路，他领导中国走向光明，他坚持了抗战8年多，他改善了人民生活，建设了地后建筑地，他实现了民主。